Hi guys, so I'm here editing some pictures and I'm getting some amazing results, and I wanted to talk about something that I don't feel is talked about enough, and that's eye detect autofocus. So I thought it was pretty cool when I got my Canon EOS R that it had eye detect autofocus, and shortly after that there was actually a firmware update that made the eye detect autofocus even better. So the way that it works is basically similar to face detect autofocus. You know, it detects a person's face and follows them around. And I've used that on this camera and other cameras before, and I was kind of used to it, and I just kind of figured that's the way it worked. But instead of tracking a face, it would track eyes. So when I started using it more, I found that it doesn't only just track the eyes, it actually focuses on the eyes, which I know is what it's supposed to do. But it tracks them and focuses on them, and it does, a really great job. So one of the biggest challenges to shooting people, shooting portraits, is making sure that the eyes are in focus, if that's what you want to focus on, and usually it is. Usually you want to make sure the eyes are nice and sharp. You know, when you're shooting still life and landscapes, it's fairly easy to make sure that you're in focus. I mean, you can even focus manually and zoom in on your live view and make sure you're in dead focus. But when you're shooting people, you know, you're moving a little bit, they're moving a little bit, and you want to make sure that, like I said, the eyes stay in focus. Especially in a lot of situations, you want to shoot with a shallow depth of field. You want to shoot wide open. So 1.4, if you have a 1.4 lens, shoot wide open. It gives you a really shallow depth of field though. And when you have a shallow depth of field and maybe you're moving a little bit, your subject's moving a little bit, you know, your focus is going to be moving in and out. It's not always going to be dead on. I found with cameras I've used in the past, most recently the Canon 5D4, I could make sure I had my focus point on the eyes, make sure I was focused on the eyes, but it wasn't always getting the pupil, which is what you want. It was getting sometimes the lashes or sometimes the outside of the eye, and the eye itself wasn't in sharp focus. The way this eye detect autofocus is working, basically, it's identifying the eyes and it's making sure that it focuses on the eyes. And what that lets me do, basically, as a photographer, is not worry about the focus. I put it on eye detect autofocus, it tracks the eyes, it tracks the face, and it's making sure that it focuses, as I'm hitting that button, make sure that it focuses on the eyeball. And then it takes away the element of me having to worry about whether or not my subject is still, I'm still, the eyes are staying in focus. I can think about, you know, lighting and composition and interacting with my subject, rather than having to worry about whether or not a shot is in focus. So I got some shots here I want to show you. I shot these over the holidays. I'm just editing them now a few weeks later. But these are my girls. I was taking some pictures of them, and I wanted to shoot, you know, kind of an extreme situation. I used natural light, but it wasn't very bright, and I wanted to shoot as wide open as I possibly can. So I used my 50mm 1.2 lens for the Canon R. It was an RF lens. I love the lens, by the way. But at 1.2, and I was only shooting a few feet away, the depth of field is razor thin. Maybe I'll do a calculation. I'll put a little calculation here to show you how shallow the depth of field is. So I didn't have a lot of margin of error to work with. And I wanted to kind of just not think about focusing and just let this eye detect autofocus do its thing and see what kind of results I got. And I found 90% of the shots were perfectly focused on the eye, and it even switched as they moved a little bit, and the leading eye became closer to me, and the leading eye switched back and forth. I found that just with a slight movement of my camera, I was able to pick up the leading eye instead. I can't tell you how happy I am with the results of this. And with those margins of error, with a shallow depth of field, now I don't have to think about focusing. I could just think about the composition, the interaction with the subject, and, you know, just getting the shot and not have to worry about exactly the focus point and whether or not it's off a little bit, and maybe I missed that one shot that the facial expression was just perfect and I missed it because the focus was off a little bit. I gotta say, really amazing results from this eye detect autofocus. So other camera systems have them. I know Sony supposedly has a really great system with theirs. Nikon has them now with the Z6 and Z7 also. So when you're looking into these new cameras, when you're looking into the mirrorless, keep something like that in mind. It's something that's a really great feature. Make sure that your camera has it. If you're ever going to be shooting pictures of people, it's just a really great thing to have, to be able to focus not just on the face, which what we had before. We had face detect and you could follow people around and it was great. But when you're using a shallow depth of field, you want to make sure you get on those eyeballs. And this does it. This eye detect autofocus focuses right on the eyeball. It gets it every time. Really happy with this, so definitely check it out. And I gotta imagine that this technology is only going to get better in the future. You know, this Canon R is only a year old, and they've already had a firmware update to make the eye detect autofocus even better. I would imagine going forward, future models, it's just going to keep getting better. So overall, very happy with this eye detect autofocus. Makes me love the mirrorless system even more. Very happy with it overall. If you have any questions, any comments about experiences you've had using the eye detect autofocus, put them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.